Come on. We're live.
Okay, so we'd like to call the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Committee meeting to order. Julie, could we get a roll call, please?
Mr. Watkins.
Here.
Mr. Strickler.
Here.
Mr. Richard.
Here. Okay, can we get a motion to approve the agenda for tonight?
I'll make the motion to approve.
A motion was made by Mr. Strickler.
Second.
And a second was made by Mr. Richard. All in favor?
Aye.
And opposed? Okay, so we're going to go ahead and get started. I've got a lot of things to go over here, but I'm going to kind of condense them for you. And again, I'm going to be kind of reading off the paper, so I'll try and keep eye contact, but we'll see how that works. Our first action on City Council, in the first 30 days, we were able to add tourism to the committee. So this committee that you're viewing tonight was Parks and Recreation. We added tourism, so it's now officially the Parks, Recreation, and Tourism Committee. The reason we did that is that way tourism can stay in the forefront, and it's something that we can focus on now and well into the future, and it will always have a seat at the table. Along with that, a big part of the tourism effort involves downtown Galion. I own a business downtown, I own a couple businesses, and I own a building. I've always been of the opinion that downtown Galion needed a seat at the table at City Council. You know, we have a committee for just about everything, but there hadn't been anything for downtown. So with the support of City Council and our mayor, we did a good job, and within 30 days we had it on there. So now it's Parks, Recreation, and Tourism. That was the first thing that we did. The second thing that we've looked at doing is creating a TID district, which is a tourism investment district. Right now, our mayor's been doing a lot of research on that, and there's some challenges with that. We may not meet the requirements as far as population to have an official TID, so we're looking into other avenues, and there's other things out there that we can venture into, and the reason being is it helps us when we're applying for grants, so that we can do some of these things downtown. Not only us, but if we have any property owners, and I do see some property owners in the crowd, it will help your efforts applying for grants as well as businesses for applying for grants. So at the very least, we'll come up with an official tourism zone. It will not be contiguous, so it would include all of Uptown Galion. It would include things like the train depot, Galion History Center, the Gill House, and probably jump all the way out to Amons Reservoir, where we have great tourism efforts with our disc golf course. A lot of people aren't aware of that, but we bring in a lot of people to Galion through disc golf. Those people in turn stay at places like the Sleep Inn. When they do that, we earn bed taxes on that money, which again, we can funnel back into tourism and hopefully our Uptown Galion. So just so you know, the tourism district would include all of Uptown Galion, but it would probably jump out into some other areas like the reservoir as well. Jumping down to some of the things we've talked about with improvements downtown. I just spoke with the mayor this morning and talked to him about getting all of our light posts and traffic light posts painted uptown. If you've noticed, we have really nice posts, but they're kind of dingy, they're kind of dirty, and they don't look as good as they once did. A fresh coat of paint would do a lot for that. So we're working on that to get that done. We're not sure, most likely we'll be done with city workers, but we're looking into exploring the possibilities of volunteers as well. If you want to know just how far we're going with it, those original posts were painted flat black. Flat black holds all the dirt and grime from semi-trucks and everything going down the drag. So it'll probably be more like a glossy black that won't hold and show dirt as well, and it'll wash off in the rains. So that's one of the things that we're working on right now. If you've noticed, there's been a lot of concerns about the trash containers. I know at least one person in the audience has voiced that several times. We're looking into replacing all the trash containers and coming up with something that's maybe just a little bit more than that, something that's a little more aesthetically pleasing and will look nice in the uptown and blend in with all the future efforts that we're going to do. The mayor, I hope it's okay for me to say this since we're broadcasting live, but he's working on a mural. So those of you that have mentioned the murals in Bucyrus and how nice they are, the mayor is aggressively working on a plan to put together a first mural in Uptown Galion. So we're excited about that as well, and you could see that as early as 2026, maybe by summer's end. Street decks. I've shown pictures to as many people as I can of the street decks that I've looked at from Bowling Green all the way out to Southern California. The city of Galion experimented a little bit with creating outdoor seating areas on the sidewalk, with the biggest challenge being that our sidewalks just really aren't that wide. Utilizing the street decks, we can put beautifully landscaped decks out there where once we get Dora, and I do believe that is coming, we'll have wonderful places where people can sit. Because part of the challenge right now for people that have supported Dora is, how are you going to enjoy it? You know, where are you going to sit? Where's the outdoor entertainment venues? Where's the attractive area that is appealing for people that enjoy Dora? We're going to work with that. Step one is going to be doing the street decks. So that's another thing that I'm hoping to see in 2026, possibly as early as this summer. Anybody wants to see pictures of street decks afterwards, I'll show you. Another thing that we're working on that could potentially happen in 2026 is an outdoor entertainment space. I am a big fan of the Brickyard over in Mansfield. I think it does a wonderful job of drawing people not only to the events that they have there, but to area businesses around the Brickyard. We have the potential to create something just as nice, and we're not really shooting for silver medals. The Brickyard type event area that we want to produce would actually be larger and I think more attractive. So there'll be more coming on that later. Long-term improvements, we're sitting in the theater tonight, which is probably my favorite property in the Uptown Galion. We'd like to create, I would like to create a theater district. In this theater district, this building would be the cornerstone piece of the district. We're looking at things such as arches, maybe that would be at Union Street, that would say, welcome to the Galion Theater District, very similar to what you've seen in Crestline and Shelby. Another thing in the theater district, eventually, we'd like to replace all the sidewalks in the Uptown Galion. I'm of the opinion for any building owners in the audience that that's not the responsibility of the building owners, and I don't think we're ever going to have nice sidewalks in Uptown Galion that are going to match if we expect each individual building owner to do their sidewalk. So we're working on some things there. That will probably involve a lot of grants, probably involve the sale of some properties here in town to do matching grants. And then when we do those sidewalks, for example, in the theater district, I envision the sidewalks actually being stamped with theater mass in the sidewalk, honoring the theater district. Another area that we're looking at is the little alleyway between the Wagner Law Firm and the bakery. Envision that becoming Theater Alley with a small arch that goes over that, stating that it's Theater Alley, probably reconfiguring the alley, maybe with some theater sculptures, possibly some murals. The buildings there are private property, so obviously there would have to be some consent there. And that would also tie into our outdoor entertainment space. In addition to that, if we're going east of the square, we have 2 blocks there that I would like to see become the Spirits District and also have an arch over, maybe in the Liberty Street area. This is welcome to the Galion Spirits District. And those sidewalks could be stamped with wine glasses, beer mugs, whatever would look appropriate for a spirits district. So those are some of the exciting things that we're looking at towards the future. Probably the first question that people are going to ask is, how are you going to pay for it? Funding. There's some ideas that are on the table. None of those ideas involve taking money out of the general fund. None of those ideas involve taking your regular tax dollars to pay for this. We know that there are priorities and other needs that supersede this. So we won't be going that route. But some of the areas that we can go, I mentioned the sleep in and the hotels, they all collect bed taxes. That money cannot be spent to fill potholes. It can't be spent to pay city employees. It has to be spent for certain things under the law, which fortunately is tourism. So we're working towards getting an organization that can funnel those monies, the bed tax monies, to these projects for Uptown Galion. We have not selected an organization yet. There's a lot of great candidates out there. There'll probably be more to surface. From my perspective, the organization that we would choose to administer those would work hand in hand with the city and share in our vision. Because we do have limited resources, and the resources that we have to stretch as far as they can, and it has to be one unified vision. It can't be 7 different ideas of what would make Uptown Galion work. And we really need to get started on the bricks and mortar before we get started on the newspaper ads. I mentioned selling some properties. That's a big thing. I don't know if it's appropriate yet to talk about what properties, but we have some properties that probably should not be city properties. And the sale of those properties, it makes sense that that money would be recycled into the Uptown because the money that was originally allotted for those properties was for the Uptown. And then last but not least is the grants, which is why we're working so hard to create this tourism district and put us even further ahead than we are now for grants. So I'm going to pass this microphone on to the other committee members for any input they have, and then after that, we're going to open it up to the crowd for comments or questions.
As far as the bed tax goes, I know a big concern might be of, hey, how do we fill the hotels? But the tourism doesn't only have to draw the Uptown. We have Pico Park, we have ball fields that are amazing. They can be used to draw in tournaments, which I don't know if anyone has any kids or grandkids in baseball, but like that is that draws a crowd and that draws a lot of money. I mean, usually weekend tournaments for baseball. I have a son who plays baseball, and it'll eat up a whole weekend. So we can use Pico Park to draw in maybe lease the fields for these tournaments, these private leagues. Especially out of Pico, it's not congesting High C or South Park or East Park, but at the same time, we'll have people that can stay in the hotel for the weekends, and that helps with the bed tax money too. So we have assets. Galion has the assets. I just think it's been underutilized for years in order to help the community out. So I think if we can focus not just Uptown, but in the other parts of rec part, we'll be able to make some things happen. So I'm pretty excited. I'm with Heath. Some of these are great ideas, and I can't wait to hear everybody's input. So, and thanks for coming, everybody. Really, it's pretty awesome.
I'm just going to like exactly what these 2 gentlemen said, and I'm very interested in hearing what you folks have to say.
Okay, so I'm going to walk down here in case there's anybody that can't be heard, but any questions or comments in the crowd at all? I know I've heard some in the past, but does anybody have any input or anything that you'd like to say about what we've already discussed, good or bad, about what we're attempting to do?
Hello, I'll just say something really quick. Matt, I really agree with you. I love all your ideas, but when I think of tourism, I think of the whole area of Galion. But what I also think is maybe the Freeze Foundation may be able to fund some of these projects you're talking about because they are for the community, and maybe that would be another funding source.
And I agree with that. The Freeze Foundation hopefully will be involved. I know from serving with you on the Freeze Foundation that recreation is a big piece of that. The street decks may be funded through the Freeze Foundation, so hopefully you'll vote yes for that. But yeah, in addition to what another point that you had made about, the county-wide tourism is bigger.
I'm thinking Pico, I'm thinking Icy Park, I'm thinking our other parks, I'm thinking bringing tourism to all of Galion. And although I love, of course, I'm in the Uptown, I'm in the park, and I love all your ideas, and I want them all to come into fruition, but I think we can just use money appropriately. So the money that the Freeze already has, that meets the bill perfectly for almost every project you were talking about. So I'm just saying that we could, utilize maybe some of the tourism dollars, the bed tax money, to host those tournaments out of Pico, or to have street fairs or something in Icy Park, or something like that. In other areas besides just, when you say tourism district, and tourism district, even if it goes out to payments, what about everything else? So when you're thinking tourism, it has to be all inclusive, the whole city.
I agree. I think that's a good point, and thank you for bringing that up, Jen, because when we create a tourism district, the way it outlines in the beginning, this is going to be an evolving thing. Because there could be, like let's say out on 61 or 598, there could be things that arrive later that don't currently exist. And we can pull all that stuff into the tourism district, especially as it grows.
So can tourism district be all over Iowa? I'm not thinking the bike path.
It could be, but we'd probably keep it out of residential neighborhoods for the most part. But yeah, it could be very big.
To a tourism district, so that would be something interesting for me to research.
Yeah, and I'm going to be honest. Like a big part of this is looking at our uptown. We're not excluding or discounting any other parts of Galion, but we have a beautiful gem that we have done nothing to capitalize on up to this point. So I think that uptown is our starting point.
So along those lines, my question is more about there are some of the organizations you said that maybe there are several candidates that would be working potentially along with a tourism district. So I'm on Main Street, for instance, in the promotions thing, and it said my whole number one objective is driving traffic to Galion. That's all I care about is driving traffic uptown. How would a tourism district work with whichever one of those organizations that you had mentioned, and what would make a candidate a successful candidate to do that?
Great question, Dwayne. So first off, a good group for the city to work with, in my view, and keep in mind I'm one of 7, but I think a group that has the same mission is what the council and the mayor has. If the monies that we have, I started off by saying that we have limited resources. We have to make the most bang for our buck. I feel that in the past, whether Experience Galion, a group that no longer exists, I think we've seen efforts in the past that have involved marketing in magazines, possibly even billboards. We do have a history of doing some marketing, but from my perspective, until we get our uptown marketable, all of these efforts kind of fall on deaf ears, because if you're coming from out of town and you're coming here because you've responded to this marketing and then you come here and you're disappointed, the likelihood of you coming back is probably pretty slim. And kind of piggybacking off of that, and again, I'm one of 7 on council, but I think there's always been a thought in the past that the quality of our uptown is determined by the property owners. There's some truth to that, but I think we put so much responsibility on the property owners, and it's time to shift that responsibility to our city, because we've seen property owners do phenomenal jobs of renovating their buildings. You're in one of them, Dwayne. The property owners are not letting us down, but when you look at our sidewalks, and I'm being critical of us, and you look at our light posts, and you look at our trash containers, and you look at sometimes our landscaping, and thank goodness we have amazing volunteers that go up there and work their tails off in landscaping. But we probably could have created more maintenance-free landscaping that would have required nonstop volunteer efforts. So you look at all that, you look at the things like we don't have the arches, like say in a Crestline or a Shelby. We don't have the murals that they have in Bucyrus. We don't have the fountains that they have in other towns. This is all public property we're talking about. And from my perspective, for years and years, we've just kind of pointed at the building owners and said, it's your responsibility to make this uptown beautiful and wonderful. There is some responsibility there, but there's also a whole lot of responsibility by the city, and I think that this council wants to take responsibility.
I'm Barb. I'm on the outside design committee.
Okay, one thing about tourism,
You have to go in. We have to decide how far out do you want to go. Okay, from here to, do we want to go to Columbus? Okay, you have a radius of 40 miles, 50 miles, 60 miles. Do we want to go up by Cleveland? That has to be established first. And clean up our town first, and then establish how far out do we want to go. Okay, because maybe some of our little towns don't have the people, don't have the money to have that bus ride to come to our town. So that's the key point. How far out do we want to go to bring this into our town? Also, thank you for the trash cans. I'm that lady. I will own up to that. And then we have a beautiful square, okay? It's not, like the fountain down in Mount Vernon with the dogs in it, the stuffed animal, or the concrete animals. But we have 4 corners, and every corner can have something beautiful in it, okay? There's space. I know some of them have a seating area, and even at Christmas time, there could be a theme in each one of those 4 corners. Like I'll just suggest like a nature scene, or a winter wonderland or something, or Santa's little workshop. Every corner, and there's, like I said, there's lots of space. So, and I want to welcome any of the new merchants that are in town.
Thank you, Barb. And kind of piggybacking off of your comment a little bit, you mentioned how far out do we want to go? What is that radius? I'm not sure what the answer to that is, but I do know, I started some of this by talking about the Brickyard in Mansfield. When I go to the Brickyard to enjoy some live music, it's not uncommon for me to see 50, 60, 70 people from Galion there. So I'm looking at this from the standpoint of we could just pull the people from Bucyrus, from Crestline, from Shelby, and I'm not asking them to come here every night of the week, but maybe come here on that special night where we're doing something that's very entertaining. I don't know that we have to draw from Columbus or Cleveland, because I don't know that when I'm at the Brickyard and I see over 1,000 people there, if they're drawing from that far away. I think they're just drawing all the neighboring communities. And, I think there's been times when Bucyrus has been successful at that too. So, a great comment.
Speaking on behalf of the theater, for example, something we're doing this Christmas, we're having what's called a Tuba Christmas. It's a national program. It is going to pull tuba players in here. It's a Christmas show that's played strictly on tuba. We will be pulling tuba players from all over the state. We are very interested in doing this kind of stuff, and we don't know what we're doing wrong, or I shouldn't say that we're doing anything wrong, but we're very interested in, like we used to have our music series, we would have concerts once a month. Attendance just didn't justify it, and most of them were free. So what I'm saying is I think a facelift to downtown would help with that, because when you're in, our entertainment was sponsored and paid for. So we want to be part of it, we want to help, but I certainly think a facelift to downtown would help people want to be here.
And I really believe, I'm going to stand up. Hey, I really believe the theater is a huge key to Uptown Galion. And I don't frequent up here because it's the musical thing, that's just never been my thing, but we have a diverse culture of people. You have the more rural area, you have people uptown, and people have different tastes, and that's fine. But I wonder, have you guys ever been, maybe like get a stand-up comedian that would draw people from out of town, and or a band that's, hasn't played, even it could be an older band, a new.
What I can speak to, so when we did have the concert series, we had all kinds of music. We had a bluegrass group come. This house was packed.
Right.
Packed. Jazz and blues, not so much. So yes, and I guess maybe we need to seek more public input on what they would like to see at the theater. We're all for having comedians, it doesn't even have to be, I get it, we do 4 major productions a year, and they're plays and musicals. I get that that's not everybody's thing.
Right.
But we're here for arts and entertainment. It doesn't have to be, and we also do some fantastic nonprofit stuff. Help me out, John, or Jeremiah. Amplified Expressions is where a local artist is paired up with a person in recovery, and then they come in and they either do sculpture or painting or some kind of performance. It's an incredible event, and once again, I'm dumbfounded that we're not packed, and they're free.
Right.
We do movies once a month for the kids, free.
Right.
Free
Yeah, I have enough
concessions.
for that. That's pretty good.
Yeah.
That's cool.
I keep seeing 10, 12 attendees. I don't understand what we're doing wrong or what we need to do differently.
I don't think you're doing anything wrong, because you're focused on the arts, which is great. I think it's definitely needed, and it's I don't want to abandon anything like that, but I don't know, maybe, and you don't even have to get a current a comedian, let's say like a John Lovitz or something, you know, someone who probably hasn't done anything in years, and you could, if someone could get a hold of, or I don't know how that works. I'm not in that.
I mean, I've honestly seen a comedian down at the Owls that packed the house.
Right.
I mean, if it was at the Owls, it couldn't. He wasn't a top biller.
And I'm sure it would pack the house here,
Yeah.
and it creates some revenue. But I really believe that this is the key to uptown. People would come for a show and then say, "Oh, let's go get a drink afterwards. Let's go get something to eat," and that opened up countless other avenues for some ideas for someone to do something uptown. And I think this place is it. This is it.
Another event we had this past year that went really well, and we could do more of this. It was, I'm a graduate of '86. The championship football team was in town because it was the 40th anniversary. So we replayed the game here on the big screen, so folks that had never seen the 1985 championship game could come here and watch the game. And that was fantastic. They got the community involved, packed the house. We're very interested. I just wanted to express our commitment. We are very interested in doing whatever we can.
Thank you, Todd. And I appreciate what you said right off, because I think as a city, maybe the way we could help you most is if the goals we have materialize, if we have the arches welcoming people to the Galion Theater District, if we have the new sidewalks with the theater mass, theater alley, all of these things, then just the aesthetics of people passing through here, it becomes very apparent that this is a very pro-theater community, that there's a lot of stuff happening here, and I think it's a little more tempting to try to check it out. So, because you guys kill it, you do a great job. Again, and this is I just don't think in the past maybe we've looked at how we can help, but we're gonna try.
Hi, a couple things. So to piggyback about that is, I also think we really need to look outside the box. People like me at Raven's Club, The Last Meal, The Magical Moon, these other merchants are coming in, and not that I'm saying like, we're different, we're here, but we're part of the community. I get people all across the states. And I don't think that we're utilizing what we do have in town. Like, we have Old Dogs, Reverse Thrift stores. I tell everybody, like, we go here. It's great. But I think due to some of the stores that are in town, people are afraid because they're not sure. They're afraid it's not theirs, which is fine. But I think if we're going to be a community, I think we need to bring it together and step outside the box and think of things. So like during Halloween, we have the Gill House, we have Brownella, we have the Ghost Walks. Spooky, it's bringing in spooky, and people love it and they enjoy it. And I think with some things that we really do have some untapped potential that we're not touching because people are scared because it's different. I'm not saying overnight, but I'm just saying like something to think about. You know, I get folks, I've had people from Seattle, Washington, I've had people from Texas, I have people that are just like, we Googled you and we're visiting all these places. And it's just, I think support from the community would be really grateful, just cross-promoting. Like, I'm constantly, granted Facebook is Facebook because it's algorithm, but I'm cross-promoting all the time for the theater or other businesses and things like that. And it's just, I don't see a lot of it flipping the other side. So it's like, if we're all going to jump on this bandwagon together, I think we all need to support each other, no matter what it is, because we're all here for the same mission. And I guess with that, I'll get off my soapbox on that, but then the next thing would be is, you know, as a business owner, I own my building in town. You know, what are things that are going to make it easier for us business owners to be able to afford to be able to upgrade? Because I don't want to do a facelift to my building, but like when I have to, you know, I get that there's permits and things that I have to go through in order to be able to do it, but so much red tape in order to make a slight change. Like if I need to change my door, it's how can we move forward in order to be able to grow and do and things go kind of thing.
So you had a lot there. Ravens Slope, right?
Sorry.
Ravens Slope?
Yes.
Okay. You probably would benefit us all getting with either Marcia Young or Dwayne Castle after this meeting and talk to them about Main Street. Because a lot of the things that you voiced and the ideas you had would probably benefit that organization. Or Carol, that I think you would be a great person to be on that group. That's what they're concerned with, that's what they're working towards, and you have the pulse on it. So I would get with them. As far as the building uptown, I'm not going to give this phone or this microphone to Councilman Strickler because he would have a lot to say about that. He's working very hard, long hours, overtime, to fix those rules you were just talking about. And he has the full support of City Council to do that.
I was really trying to come up with something eloquent and intelligent to ask you, and I just, my brain isn't working today. Design and review board, speak on it.
I'm half tempted to let Matt, but
No.
we'll be out at midnight.
No,
I'll get it and then I'm going to give him the microphone. So everybody that is on City Council has had concerns. Mr. Richard served on the Design Review Board. He did an excellent job with them, but even during his time serving, he knew that there were things that needed to be corrected with Design Review. Design Review could be a wonderful asset to Galion. There are still people that think that it has been, and they're entitled to that opinion, but I think if you were just to take a straw poll, that's probably very few people that have that opinion. So City Council right now is working very, very hard to redo everything in Design Review. And I think we have a lot of great things in the work. We've got some of the Gimbel family here. I talked extensively to Eric Gimbel about it. I felt that's necessary. Eric owns a lot of property uptown and he deserves to have that conversation. So we had that and it was very positive. He's also one of the cogs of the Design Review Board. Hopefully he stays on. I would actually like to see him run the Design Review Board because I think he does a great job. But I promise you, the changes to Design Review are going to be more than significant.
I'll be right back.
we are working on that. It's a little more than just we decided getting rid of it was not the thing to do, but it definitely needs readjusted. A lot of the codified ordinances were conflicting with each other with the guidelines of Design Review. So we had ordinance in one place that says you can do something, and then the guidelines said another. And economic consideration wasn't part. It actually, economic consideration was deemed irrelevant in the Design Review ordinance itself. So we're going to change those type of things because I really believe it's a living ordinance. So if times are tough and things are tight now, we have to make things easier to maintain the buildings and your properties uptown to keep them. We want them to be attractive, but still maintain some historical integrity, right? And I think we love the historical look downtown. It's great. I like little small towns like that. That's why I'm still here. But we want to keep that without making it such a financial burden. So I know a lot of these, we all know this, the theater knows it too, anything old is expensive to keep up. So we understand. And if we make it so it's more economic friendly now, let's say down the road, Galion blows up and we're doing great and everyone's doing, we're doing great business, the revenue stream's fine. Some of those can be changed 15 years down the road. Say, okay, well now, since we're all doing better, let's instead of doing these cheap fixes that were allowable, now we can make changes. So the ordinance doesn't have to be permanent forever. And if you have any ideas on what you would like to see uptown, we're more than happy to listen to these and still keep historical integrity. But that's really all I got to say right now.
Yeah, and I'll give you one sneak preview with Design Review. Design Review is probably going to get out of the building materials business. We have the Board of Zoning Appeals in Galion. We also have Richland County inspectors that come in here, and they all look at building materials. The rules with Design Review, most people would agree, were outdated, they were old, they may have been good at one time, but they weren't good anymore because they just weren't, like Mr. Strickler said, they weren't economically feasible, and then some of the things with building materials didn't even make sense. So we're of the opinion that building materials should actually go under the umbrella of people that are experts on building materials.
First off, this is very encouraging to hear this discussion. I grew up here in Galion in the 40s, 50s, and 60s and left for 48 years. When I came back, and I chose to come back to Crawford County, I hear all the complaints and and comments about people thinking how bad it is here. Live in Southern California for 48 years, and you're going to find out this is still a great area. But there's several things that I see coming back, and I've been trying to help with. One, and I don't mean this negatively at all, but Galion, from my view, is in a cocoon. Bucyrus is in a cocoon. Everybody is talking or thinking about themselves. You've got to collaborate. You've got to spread out a little bit, in my estimation. I hope you will be looking at, you've got the historical group now that's doing great stuff here in Crawford County. Over in Bucyrus, I think their travel and tourism is starting to do some good stuff, but I think you all got to work together. The other problem that I see here is there's no way to get information. I live about 5 miles on the other side of Bucyrus in the country. I come to events. I come to events here at the theater or anything that's going on, but half the time I find out about that something's going on after it's over, because there's just no way to get the information. So I think that's also something that ought to be looked at. But Galion is a great town, and I think this kind of conversation is very positive. But let's hopefully you can open it up a little bit and work with other people, and not just try to bring into here, but bring into the whole area, which will help us all.
Thank you for every one of those comments. They were awesome, especially how you started off with how great Galion is. That was great. But to answer your comments about working with the neighboring communities, and I agree with you, there's great value in that. Our Mayor Satterfield, works hand in hand with the Crawford Chamber of Commerce and the Crawford Partnership. And I think he does an excellent job. He's very supportive of both of those organizations. I know he's got a lot planned there, and I'm confident that he has the support of all of City Council. So we're going to take your advice. We are going to work with the neighboring communities. We'll probably administer that through the Chamber and through the Partnership. Those two organizations do a great job of looking out for the whole county and surrounding area. I think they even go way past the county in some cases with the Partnership and look regional. So we'll continue to do that. We'll do a good job with that. The City Council as a whole that's here now, if there's anything we're trying really hard to hang our hat on, it's be very specific about what we're going to do in Galion. We've had great city councils before us that I have tremendous respect for. But this group came into it saying, we're going to get very specific about what we're going to do in Galion. And we're going to try really, really hard. You're going to see. But we will continue to work with the neighboring communities. The others will probably be administered through the Chamber, the Partnership, and the Mayor will take the lead on that. He does an awesome job of working with those groups.
No, I just want to comment on your poles when you paint them, okay? The bottoms need checked for safety. We had a big wind a couple months back. One fell right here by Plan 14, and I believe the other one was down by the police department. So some of them are half gone at the bottom, so just in your mind that you might have to pay to have those done.
Okay, we'll look at that because as we redo everything uptown, we'll start with painting them, but we realize there's some things that probably need replaced or repaired along the way. Hopefully we'll see that while we're painting them. I don't know for sure how that's going to work out, but I'm pretty sure it's going to be city workers that will be doing the work. So that'll be really great, because if we have electric line department people, they're painting the pole, they're going to see the problem and they're going to fix it.
Hi, I'm Kathy, and I just want to add on to what Mr. San Diego State here just said, that, I live here, I've been here for 27, 30 some years, and I also don't hear about events uptown. I don't hear about new shops opening.
I'm new to Facebook. I've never wanted to be on it, but I'm there now, and it's for the reason of promoting my business. And if there's some other way, Sir, do you have any ideas about how to get the word out? Are you looking at something like paper or radio, or how do we let people know about the stuff we have here? Because I live here, I still don't know what happens at the theater unless I happen to drive by.
Thank you. So I think the way some of that's going to work, we have some organizations that the Chamber does a little bit of work now trying to promote events and make people aware of things. But the Main Street group, we have 3 representatives here from Main Street. We have Carol, Marcia, and Dwayne. That could be a significant part of their mission as they're putting together what they're doing, because we're in a challenging times right now. It's a social media time, and not everybody's on the same social media. It's no longer the days of just put it in the newspaper and everybody knows. Put it in the newspaper now and nobody knows. So trying to figure out the magic formula of who's on what social media site and then who's not on any social media site and where they live to knock on their door is a big challenge. But I think Main Street will probably tackle that challenge and probably do a pretty good job of it, because in the meetings that I've attended, they've talked about that very issue.
New Washington, Ohio uses, they have a small newsletter. It's been going on for decades, for a very long time. So I know that paper is expensive, printing and all of that stuff costs money, but something like that might be useful.
And I like that idea, and maybe kind of using your idea but modernizing it and going from the newsletter. Maybe a group like Main Street puts together a community event calendar that becomes really popular online, whether that be on Facebook or webpage or what have you, or probably both would be better. And then that community event calendar can be our new source. And I don't know if that would work either, but we'll try as many things as possible. Probably won't be the city heading up that effort. We've got a lot to tackle. There's people that are better at this than we are, but Main Street might be an organization, not to put it all on Main Street, I'm just doing that because they have 3 representatives here.
I love what I'm hearing tonight, some great ideas, and I appreciate you guys taking the time to put this little, I guess, town hall, if you will, together. One of the things that I've kind of noticed in other communities, and we see Crestline just a stone's throw away, and they've really put some effort into beautifying their small uptown area, and I love that, and it really has given them a sense of pride in their community. Just in small changes, inexpensive changes, I really think we could have something worth promoting. We've already got so many great foundational things in this community, and maybe just polishing it up a little bit. One of the things that I have noticed over the years is having an uptown business that my wife operates is weeds that are 5 feet tall, coming out of every corner, and garbage cans that are in varying states of disrepair. Things like that make it detract from, wow, this is a nice area, to, wow, this is a rough area. Never forget, saw an uptown business, a review on I think it was Google or something like that, and there was an uptown business that a couple had come to from, I think, the Columbus area, and they said, top notch for the business, but it was in a really rough section of town. It was right like 2 blocks away. And that was really disheartening. And, it was in a time I'm like, well, yeah, there were weeds 4 or 5 feet tall, there's garbage can lids missing, and garbage on the road. And so I really think if we put more effort in cleaning up some of those areas, making sure that our assets that we have are polished a little bit more, that's really going to go hand in hand with having those events and being able to promote, some of the things that we do have in a more focused effort. I really think it's going to be a job, but not as hard as it may be. And then as we get further into it, adding some features like an arch over the town, or I love the idea of some sort of vintage looking or, historic uptown district this way, at the Portland Way, Harding Way intersection, those types of things that could really, really add some polish to what we already have. That's going to make people want to come here to events that we put on. So that's just my thoughts.
Thank you, Eric. So I've enjoyed every single comment here tonight and agreed with all of them, but I think your thoughts align with mine as much as they possibly can. I think it starts with the aesthetics uptown. I'll be completely honest with you. Of all the things I ran for city council for, there was nothing more than the aesthetics of uptown Galion. And I agree with you 1,000%, Eric. 3B, you guys do an awesome job of making your place look great at the coffee house. Dwayne does too at Old Dog's Coffee. It can't all fall on you guys. And it's not going to work if we do try to make it all fall on you guys. You're going to have some buildings that do, some buildings that don't. And then we're going to wonder, is it the business or is it the building owner or is it who? The city has to take some responsibility for this stuff. They have done a good job on some of it. But I used to joke around all the time and say, we're going to rename this town Weeds, Ohio. So, yeah, we got to get rid of the weeds.
I just want to say real fast, I am not born here. I moved here a long time ago, so this is my city. And I think a lot of the foundation is a community that buys into. Because tourism is great, and I want to bring in all the tourists, because they oftentimes are Googling, what's a coffee shop in town? So I want to bring those people in town, but we also have to have a city that buys in. So like I've been trying to hit real hard on, Galion's a great place to live, I've got those little mugs, like anything where we can all buy into. And there's so many people in this room that buy into us, and I appreciate that. And the business owners downtown, we put our money where our mouth is. Every penny we make, we almost reinvest. We want this to be successful. Thank you. You're constantly in our shop. The mayor, the new mayor is. So many of you in this room are, and we appreciate that. But we got to get a city to buy into it. So tourism is great. City pride. So, I just think that's a huge aspect of all of this, is being proud of the city we live in, and as a community, not just the people in this room, but as a community.
Thank you, Crystal. That's so valuable. Marcia Younger is leading the charge for that. She's starting a podcast, and I'm going to put a plug out for it, which is basically all about positive Galion. So be ready for Marcia's podcast. I've always believed what you said. I really don't think that there's anything beneficial by focusing on the negative. I'd rather focus on where we can go and what is positive, although I have said a lot about what we failed to do. I'm saying that from a standpoint of we don't have to fail. That is a choice. And I think that choice is being changed right now. At least we're going to work really hard to do it.
I had a suggestion on the information for the town people to get. Yes, I don't drink coffee, but I drink hot chocolate. I'm sorry. I got to put a plug in for. Is having on the square build this, okay, and then put all the monthly about the city, all that, under glass with lungs, and then maybe a light over it.
Like a screen or something manual?
Glass, just a box, yeah.
Okay.
Okay, and because summer's coming and people are going to be walking.
Okay. I like that suggestion. There's probably a lot that we can do uptown with signage. And for me, like the first step with signage is you just don't have signs, but you have attractive signs. We have signs uptown right now. Actually, if you look uptown, we have a lot of signs that we don't even need. And then we have signs that could be attractive that aren't. But we're going to work on every bit of that. We're going to take it one step at a time. Like I said, I was on the phone with the mayor this morning about fixing and painting the light posts. We've talked extensively about the trash cans. I've talked to Oakstone Landscaping about our landscaping islands to get their suggestions on what we could do to put more maintenance-free landscaping islands in there so we don't put such a burden on the volunteers. And this might be a little funny, but one of the problems I have is we're leaning on volunteers and they have to do things like trim evergreen bushes, and they're, in some cases, not professional landscapers. So we have one bush that's a circle, another one that's a square, another one that's a diamond, because they're not professional landscapers. They're volunteers doing it out of the goodness of their heart. perhaps we could put things in there that don't require so much maintenance that we need professionals all the time. So, thank you. Anybody else before I take this back up there? Okay. Speak now or forever hold your peace. That's not true. We'll do it again.
I guess I get to speak now. First of all, I want to thank everyone for coming, and I have to say I agree with everything that has been said. I've been on council now. This will be my 7th term. I'm not bragging. I'm not originally from here. I was brought into Ohio via the Coast Guard. I was stationed at Markline. Met my wife, who's a 3rd generation Galionite, and so I love the town. So here's where we live. And so one of the things I think, like he said, and Matt has said, and many of you folks out here, the theater is an anchor point. But we also have another anchor point, the depot. It's one of the uniquest things in this part of the country, okay? Our community as a whole, there is problems and we need to fix them. But there is also a lot of things that we have here that nobody else has. I know of women that come up from Columbus, they stay over here at the one little bread and breakfast, I'll say it again, from Columbus. The reason why they come to the town is because of what the town looks like, because of what the people are, all of us. And that's something that I think one of the downsides that's happened in the past. There's been a lot of great attempts at doing things, but I think there was never really a direction for the uptown area in the sense of what do we want to go to. I know we want to stay with the historical, but we also know that time is always marching. So I think we can meld that together to form a unique community that is as unique as Galion has always been. Even our name is unique. If you look it up anywhere, there's no place that says Galion other than here. So I think everything, Heath and Matt and the rest of the council and also the mayor, everybody uptown is wanting to finally focus more on the downtown area. And I agree with the idea that for the tourism part that we should expand it to the entire community. But I think where we need to start is right out here. And just like was mentioned about the weeds and stuff, I've said that for years. Well, again, there's things that can be done, and I think it will be focused on it. That's what's we'll get those taken care of, and I think it will be a progressive improvement for the betterment of the community. Thank you.
So hang in there with us. If you think it would be good for us to do more of these and maybe get some of the people that weren't able to make it here tonight, let us know. And then we have an awesome council clerk and Julie Bell that will put this together, all the technology and everything. And we'll make it happen again if it's something that you think would be beneficial. Because I know that there's some that wanted to be here tonight and couldn't. So just contact either myself or Councilman Richard or Councilman Strickler and let us know. And if you want us to do it again, we will. We'll probably move it around. We're not going to ask the theater to go through all this work for us every time. We probably will ask Crystal and Eric at 3B to host us at some point. But yeah, just let us know. If you want us to do this again, we will do it again. If there's nothing else, we're going to get ready to adjourn here in a second. Does anybody have anything? No? Oh.
I just want to thank you so much, and it goes to what Jim was saying about collaboration and listening to people and hearing what people are saying. I can see a positive enthusiasm that's coming around, so thank you guys.
Well, thank you, Marcia. We're taking your lead on this one, so with the positivity. But
Oh, that's positive.
yeah, it is positive. I meant it as positive, but yeah, Marcia's probably one of the most positive people I know, and I think that our council's that way as a whole. And I think we're trying really hard. Hopefully, it will come through in a positive way. We're trying to make things happen fast. We're trying to get the ball rolling. We've listened to people, and we all had our own ideas when we took this project on. So, anything else before we adjourn? Okay, can we get a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Strickler, and a second by Mr. Richard. All in favor? All opposed? Meeting adjourned.
6:58.